Hey everybody, it's Fabrizio Aiello, creator of Horace H. Hoover, and today I want to talk about the style equation. This is something I've been thinking about for quite some time. Before you really get into producing enough work to really start to see your style, it's kind of a black box, and usually most people would say just let it emerge naturally. But I just wanted to sort of reverse engineer where I think style comes from and how you sort of piece it together. Could be right, could be wrong, let me know in the comments. So the first part of this equation, I think basically is tools. A lot of times artists will get frustrated when people ask, what kind of brush is that? What pen is that? What pencil is that? And they always say, oh, it's do what works for you, or it doesn't make a difference. The tools don't matter. I totally disagree if we're talking in terms of style. Most people, whenever they start out drawing, really have something in mind. And it might not be, I'm going to copy Mignola's style or McFarlane or something like that. It could be, I want to do something atmospheric. I want to do something desaturated. I want to do something energetic and dynamic. So it might not be that they're looking for a particular artist, but tools are such a huge part of that. If you start out with a micron, it's automatically going to sort of put you in the bucket of like a Mobius or a Barry Windsor Smith. And if that's the stuff you're looking to mimic and you start with a brush, it is going to be a hard row to hoe. And you're going to be constantly frustrated with that because you're never going to get the line and sort of the feel that you're looking for. So I think tools are a huge part of your style. The next part of the style equation, I think, is process. And by process, I mean, how do you actually draw? I'm talking specifically about comics, but do you do rough thumbnails and blow them up and print them out and lightbox them? Do you use blue line and then do finished pencils over that? Do you go straight to finished pencils? And I think that on top of the tools is going to give you a certain particular quality. Thumbnails to lightbox, maybe your drawings are going to be more energetic. They're going to have good composition, but you didn't spend a lot of time tweaking like fine detail, so maybe there wasn't quite enough room for the foot or the hand or something like that. It's going to give your drawing and comic book a specific quality to it, as opposed to blue line. Maybe it's going to be much more refined because you have the underdrawing of the blue line to keep refining over. That's going to give you another Art Adams type quality to it potentially, or straight to finish. Something like that might be more stiff. Proportions might be off a little bit. Compositions won't be as good potentially because you didn't do a thumbnail first. So how you draw, process is another really big part of style. And layered on top of that, I think, is subject matter. If you're trying to do something that's evocative of like Mike Mignola, but the story is something about some science fiction story, and you're drawing sci-fi vehicles all the time, that's going to be very, very difficult because the language isn't created yet. Mignola has language for drawing Gothic architecture and creepy skulls and religious iconography. But when it comes to sci-fi vehicles, you're going to be starting from scratch. So even if you intend to do a Mignola style drawing, it's going to be much harder to get to where you're going in that style if it's a totally different subject matter. After subject matter, I think ultimately it's problem solving on a sort of a longer scale. So each drawing you do, you're going to be presented with particular problems, whether it's facial expressions, compositions, imbuing a drawing with energy, whatever the case may be. When you do solve those challenges, it kind of goes into your library, and the next time you're presented with a similar challenge, you're gonna go to that first. How did I do this last time? Or can I maybe use a pose I used before or something like that? And that's where the shorthand really comes from. That's where you get faces that look similar. You have poses that you use on a regular basis, maybe a hand position that you use on a regular basis. That really pushes your style forward. I always think of Gil Kane's knees. Gil Kane has the most distinct knees you will ever see drawn. And I can pick his drawings out in a lineup just based on his knees, or John Buscema's hands. And finally, I will say this is a negative, it's errors. So you might want to render abs like David Finch, but you just can't quite do it. So at the very end, that last 5 or 10% of the style comes down to skill level. But I think ultimately tools, process, subject matter, shorthand, problem solving gets you really far into your style. And especially if you keep with those particular things, you keep the same tools, process, subject matter, and you build on that, it'll really solidify your style in a direction. So I don't think style is quite as a black box as some people make it sound. There is a little bit of, unique personality to it, but ultimately I think you have a lot more control over it than some people say that you do. Anyway, it's something I'm thinking about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys. It sound right, boys. It sound right, boys.